All right, we are back. I am Chase.
I'm Christian.
We are the RMFantasy SXperts. Thanks for tuning in if you're watching us on YouTube. Also, remember, you can listen to our podcast on all the major platforms.
No excuses to not catch it anymore. So.
Absolutely. Now, Christian, round 6, Minneapolis in the books. Lots to talk about.
Let's just get in it.
Let's kick it right off. Here it is. This is our race recap. All right, Christian, round 6, Minneapolis, it's come and gone. Pretty wild night.
A lot to talk about and go over, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But first, let's talk about our results. So Cooper Webb, 3rd win of the year. Could he be the guy?
Why are we surprised?
I don't know.
I don't know, but we still are.
We're still stubborn and don't put him in first. We haven't learned yet. We'll talk more about it.
That's right.
Ken Roxon, so far, yet so close to that first win.
Gets the red plate back. It's all that matters.
Back. Yep, 2nd place. Marvin Musquin, 3rd. Joey Savacci, props to him, his best finish of the year.
Spoiler that we call every week.
Yes, sir. I had him in my top 5, 4th place. Justin Brayton, another spoiler.
Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, 5th place. And Dino Wilson holding it down for the wild card.
Actually, one of the most chosen wild cards, big week wild card wise. So
absolutely.
Overall.
Any highlights you want to bring up?
You have to get into Adam Enticknap just right away. I mean, he missed the main by 1 spot in the heat. You could tell he was frustrated.
He had a good start, and I was like, dude, he's going to qualify out of the heat.
I know, we were pulling for him hard, and then he just takes it all out on no regard for human life, wipes out 2 dudes in the corner, just
atom bomb.
Drops the atom bomb and
right.
Cleans house. I was pretty impressed. So.
I thought it was pretty interesting how Marvin Musquin couldn't keep it on 2 wheels for the heat race.
You never see that. That was weird.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He had multiple tip overs, crashes, call it you want. And then, of course, if you didn't watch the races, go back, get the NBC Sports Gold app because you can watch the replay. The whole 250 LCQ was by far the most entertaining race I've ever seen.
I saw everything. Anything I could think of, I pretty much saw that race.
What did Carmichael say?
Let's quote Ricky Carmichael summarizing that race. These riders are losing their minds and making a ton of bad decisions. So I think he pretty much nailed it.
All right. Well, how do we do as far as stats go for users?
The average points per user was 26.7, the 2nd highest of the year. Still no perfect scores.
Wow.
But in the last 2 years, we've had perfect scores in round 7. Last year we had 2 perfect scores. Year before that, in round 7, we had 55. So it could be a sign. I'm taking that as pick conservative, but we'll get into it.
Big week for the wild card, you said.
Big week for the wild card. It was the highest correct percentage we've had all year. Dean Wilson, 12.49% got him right, when the average on the year of getting it right is only 5%, so pretty good. All
right, now we are actually taking a big chunk. We're extending our gap over Jim and Daniel, I'm happy to say.
I would say you're carrying the weight here. Let's talk about it.
Hey, don't give me no. This is a team effort here. But you do want to stick around because coming up later on the show, Jim Hawley, if you watch Race Day Live, you know who he is. He is actually going to call in, talk a little bit about Race Day Live and his kind of thoughts on this week that we have coming up.
Anytime you get Hawley, you got to get in on that.
All right. Well, real quick, going into Arlington, what injuries do we have here?
Sounds like Osborne's might be back. We're still going to need to check that, see what happens. Hill, no news
Haven't
on
really
him.
Heard much. Okay.
He missed last round. Then the long-term injuries, Anderson, Stewart, Bloss, all out. So.
Yep. Well, there it is. So now let's get into it. We're headed to Dallas, where it's going to be much warmer for this race. Here it is. This is our track trends.
So in Arlington, going back to a football stadium, I'm pretty excited about it. Just from looking at the track map, a long start. Got a pretty cool sweeping turn after the finish where it looks like a lot could happen.
Almost like flat tracking around the whole thing.
And a good-sized whoop section, but they did break down pretty bad last year, so.
But I think it's going to make for much better racing, though.
Yeah, it looks like an awesome track.
Not as many riders, just single file. But just to give you a quick recap of last year, Tomac, he took the whole shot, led 25 laps. He also qualified first that night. And so it was Tomac, Musquin, Baggett, Anderson, Seeley were your top 5 last year.
Well, we had perfect scores. 4 of the top 5 fastest qualifiers finished in the top 5.
Wow.
I'm seeing the stars align this week. So.
All right. Well, there it is. But now we got to have that discussion. Why aren't we putting the number 2 in our picks, or at least in the winning spot? So let's get right into it. This is our top contenders. Christian, we got Cooper Webb, Ken Roxon, Musquin, Tomac up on the table. Cooper Webb, the man has finished started first or second in 5 out of the last 6 gate drops. He's won 3 races, but we still are too stubborn to put him in first place.
Only 7% picked him to win, including my wife. I thought she was crazy, but she joined the Coop Troop.
She was on to something.
I'm about to do it as well, because you take his stats this season or even over the last 3 or 4 rounds, if Roczen, Muscan, or Tomac would have done the same thing,
guaranteed we'd be putting him in first.
We have no doubt picking him first, but for some reason we just don't feel comfortable. We need to smack ourselves, get it going. I don't know.
Well, we have a chart on the back you can see here. A couple things. This is their average qualifying and finish for the year for Webb. It's kind of interesting. His qualifying and finishing averages are the exact same, and he hasn't qualified first yet. But what you notice is that every time he qualifies first or between 4th and 6th, the man wins the race.
Yeah, that seems where he likes the track. I don't know.
All right. What about Ken Roczen? What do you got here?
Ken Roczen quietly just took back the red plate like a boss.
Yes.
We're still kind of down on him. I don't know why, though, because he has the best average overall start, a 4.13, best average finish on the year per round. But he hasn't raced Arlington since 2016 when he won.
True.
And the man just refuses to take the same spot in back-to-back weeks. That's my advice with him. I mean, if you looked at a chart of his finishes over the year, it's like a hump.
Yeah.
Where his finishes are 2, 3, 4, 5, and now he's coming back to second. So, but the thing that really surprised me about him is he hasn't started worse than 6th all year, including the Triple Crown, mains, everything.
He'll put it together. Now, interesting though, when we look at Roczen's chart, you'll notice right away that Roczen's not the strongest qualifier. In fact, the rounds that he qualified 3rd and 1st, he wasn't even on the box.
Yeah.
So don't take his qualifying. We've said this multiple times. Don't worry about Roczen's qualifying. Now let's jump over to Muscan here.
Marv, qualifying does matter with this man.
Yes.
I mean, he's hasn't finished more than 2 spots away from where he's qualified since round 2. And his 2019 averages per gate drop, qualifying 4.67, start 4.8, and a finish at 3.67. So he's had solid years so far. He's only missed the podium 2 times in the top 5 once this year.
Yeah, so look at his qualifying. If Marv isn't qualifying well, it could be a very good indicator of how his night might go. He's still a top 5 guy, but might not be on that podium.
Yep.
Now here's the big question mark. The one man that we just for some reason refused to not put on top of the box, even though he's letting us down, Eli Tomac.
Well, everyone's talking about him making a riders union after the Lime incident. I think they've made a riders union on the back end to destroy fantasy this year. And he is one of the major culprits.
Yes, he is.
So Tomac, he's only started in the top 5 once in one standard round this year. So his starts are not good at all. He did qualify the fastest, win his heat, lead every lap, and win in Arlington last year. So he might jive there again. But he's missed the top 5 for the first time this season last week, which is not pretty when you start 16th.
And I just think with Tomac, I mean, his average finish, looking at this chart, is 3.5, but that's not a reflection of his starts. His starts have not been good, and if he can't fix it, there's too many guys that are too good up in front of him that he's not just going to bull rush. So
he started 10th or worse in 4 of the 8 gate drops this year. It's not looking good.
Man, well, there it is. Those are your top contenders. But now, just like we saw last week, we had 2 spoilers. Joey Savacci, Justin Brayton cracking the top 5. So let's get into it. This is our weekly spoilers. All right, so if you're watching or listening, here we have on the table Chad Reed, Blake Baggett, Dean Wilson, Joey Savacci, Justin Brayton, Justin Barsha. Riders that could crack the top 5, but which one do you put in there? Well, we've seen Savacci last week. 4th place ride. The man looks good. He's a fast qualifier.
Yeah.
He could start being one of those guys that's consistently up there. Justin Brayton, we said from the start, the man was going to be in the top 5 at some point. I didn't expect it to be last weekend.
He was riding like a man possessed. So, I mean, his last 3 finishes, 7, 8, 5, and he's finished exactly 2 spots better than his qualifying last 2 rounds. So it might be something there with Brayton.
Now, tell me about Justin Barsha, Christian.
Justin Barsha destroyed my picks last week, no doubt. We know more about Area 51 than the actual 51.
Barsha.
I'm done with him for
I'm
now.
not a top 5 guy with Barsha. Not until he does it again. But interesting, though, we have Reed up here. He's been improving each week, it seems.
You don't think about it until you look at his stats. The man's, what is his last 3 finishes? 9, 5, 7.
Yeah.
His starts are getting better. And he's finished 10 spots better than where he's qualified. So even if he has bad qualifying, you just never know with that guy.
Yeah. So last year, though, if you were to go off his qualifying and finish last year, he qualified 15th, took 21st. Don't count that for his results. You're going to see.
Qualified 21st, took 15th.
Correct.
So yeah, it was rough. I don't know if he likes Arlington. That's all I can take from that.
But if he were to crack the top 5 at this point, I'm not going to be like wondering how the heck that just happened.
No. Just a longer shot than some others.
But you got to remember, people, take your top 3 podium riders, solidify that, and then take those 4th and 5th place spots. Take a gamble. Because as you've seen, every week, things are changing, and that's what's going to pay off big time. But those are the weekly spoilers. Now let's get into it. Wildcard this week.
15th.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yep.
Here it is Wildcard Watch.
All right, wild card this week, 15th place, the hardest to choose,
Yep.
I think. So we pulled all the stats, we pulled all the riders, and then it turned out kind of yellow here.
There's a lot of yellow up here.
A lot of yellow going on.
We got Kyle Chisholm, Alex Ray, Adam Mentichnap, your boy Cole Martinez, who
Where
didn't
was
show
he
up last week.
Does anyone know where he is? We need an
Where are
update.
you, Cole?
I mean, where's
and
my
then
boy?
Ben LeMay. So
That's right.
4 Suzuki. So basically, the entire HEP Suzuki Motorsports team, Cole Martinez. So the reason that we have these riders up here is because at 15th place, what we feel is that it's going to be a rider that makes the main from the LCQ.
It has a good chance, yeah.
Good chance, right? And so these riders up here are riders that if they make the main, it's very good, very likely they're going to come out of the LCQ.
They're also riders that if you see them in the LCQ, you'd feel comfortable they're
Absolutely
going to make it out of there.
So Kyle Chisholm, the last 4 standard rounds, he's gone 16, 16, 17, 15. He's made every main event or every standard so far.
Yep, he's my choice.
Okay, what about Alex Ray?
Alex Ray, he's made the last 5 main events. His finishes are 17, 20, 17, 20. It's kind of weird. Then he went to 16th last week.
Okay.
So he's right around there. Adam Mentichnap, the man.
Just needs a break.
We're going to be cheering for
him.
him. If you are going to the race, stop by his truck. Give him some encouragement. We need that man in the main.
Now,
Cole Martinez went MIA last week. We don't know what's going on.
he's already got the wild card this year.
He's already got the wild card in 13th.
If he shows up and he's in the LCQ and he looks like he's riding good, might not be a bad pick.
the week before that. So
Okay.
I like him. And then Ben LeMay.
Yes.
Let's talk about him.
Overall finishes this year, 18, 19, 18, 15, 17. So he's averaging a little over the wild card at 17.4, but the man's a good rider. If he's finishing ahead of, say, Ray or Chisholm, those guys in the LCQ, and you picked him for your wild card spot, you could have made a really good choice.
I like it. And no rider has taken 15th more than once this year, so it's kind of been...
But you got Chisholm this week?
I'm going with Chisholm.
I think that's a really good pick. What do you guys think if you're listening? What do you think? Who's going to take that wild card? There it is. But now coming up, we mentioned it earlier. If you watch Race Day Live, you know who this man is. Jim Hawley. He is a legend. 1985, the year I was born, Supercross champion.
Me too.
World champion.
I mean, it's a good year.
Let's get him on. Here it is, Between Two Berms with Jim Hawley. All right, so we got him on the phone. Here he is. If you watch Race Day Live, you know this man very well. This is Between Two Berms with Jim Hawley. What's up, Jim?
Well, just hanging out at LAX, waiting to get on the plane to go to Dallas. How you doing, Chase, and how's Christian doing?
We're doing all right. Are you excited to go into decent weather this time?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm glad to get out of Minnesota. But, yeah, I mean, you guys have been kicking our butts in fantasy. I know that. I got to give you props. You know, you guys get all the accolades from me, man. It's hard to pick this year.
Yeah.
Well, you asked how we're doing. I'd say we're doing pretty good.
There's a lot of racing to go, though. I'm still scared.
Yeah.
All right, Christian.
Well, it's like you're in an outdoor race, and I mean, you got about a 45-second lead on us right now, so we got to start reeling you guys in.
Yep. Anything can happen, that's for sure.
That's right.
We have a couple questions for you. A lot of people watch Race Day Live, but a lot of people might not have. What do you get out of watching Race Day Live? We want to hear your thoughts on how watching qualifying translates to the main event, and you know what you can usually draw from that while making your picks.
Well, I mean, for one, if a rider's injured, you don't know if he's going to ride, maybe you have on your pick for RMFantasysX.com. You can go back in there and change it after ours. And if you see a guy that's maybe struggling and he's way down in the qualifying and he just doesn't look right, then you can also change. But it's just kind of cool to watch and see how riders are developing and who looks fast and who's been crashing a lot in qualifying, and then you want to pick that guy. And then also, you know, you can look at the times, because sometimes the wild card's anywhere from 8th place to 10th to 13th. So you got to start, you know, worrying about those guys and kind of paying attention to who you're going to put in that wild card position. So I think it's a great way to watch qualifying. I mean, they do it in F1. You know, it's televised, so why not do it for Supercross?
Yeah, and you and Jim keep it pretty entertaining.
Him and Daniel.
Or you and Daniel, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you guys do a great job. I watch qualifying. I always like to see how riders are looking in qualifying. Now, kind of leads us, you mentioned the wild card. So this week, Jim, it's 15th place. It's kind of a tougher wild card to pick because that's kind of, you know, on the borderline of riders that sometimes make the main event and sometimes don't. Yeah, that type. B group rider, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's for a guy that hasn't made a main event, like an RMFantasy, he could be your guy, and he could have a great knockout ride. You got to watch and see how he rides. You know, traditionally Arlington's kind of a hard, blue groove type of a track. So, but yeah, that 15 is going to be really hard. And I hope I get one of those because it's 26 points, and we need our points.
Well, if you watch our episode this week, we actually have some really good stats on riders to help make that 15th pick this week. So you're going to have to watch our show. I know you probably don't want to take advice from us, but probably don't want to watch our show and take advice from Christian and I, but you might need to.
Oh, yeah, a good champion always says that, he watches other riders and he learns from it. So we might have to be watching chasing Kristen and see what your picks are and kind of go from that. I know that you guys are stat man and you guys go with a lot of stats. I kind of go with the gut feeling on, Kenny Roxon's got to win one of these things. When do you put him and Marvin Muskin winning one? They're the two guys in 2019 that hasn't got a win yet, But, we'll see. We'll see what happens after Arlington.
Definitely. So, besides like Cooper Webb, he kind of seems the easiest one to meet. What rider has impressed you the most this year? Who stands out?
Well, the last two rounds, I think Reed, with San Diego, him getting the 5th, and then last weekend he finished up 7th. Reed's a veteran. He knows how to ride, and, I don't know if this is his last year or not, but he's impressed me. I mean, Barcia impressed me, but then he had that injury, and now he's kind of hasn't been doing anything. But I'll tell you who impressed the hell out of me. And I can say hell, correct?
Yeah, you're good to say.
Okay, just wanted to check. I didn't want to hit the button. Was Joey Savacci. I mean, I think he led it for about 15 minutes. It was just that last 5 minutes and one lap to go. And I know Johnny O'Mara was working with him, and I know Johnny went up to him and probably said, and I would do the same thing, hey, you need to go over and thank all the Kawasaki guys and tell them the bike's great, everything's great, it's on me, it was my fault those last 5 minutes, I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to win one of these for you guys. And that will help him move forward. But Savacci impressed me last weekend, just how he held up to the pressure for 15 minutes. I mean, that was awesome ride that he put in.
Yeah.
And then the other guy that I'm impressed with, but it just seems like every other weekend, is Blake Baggett. He gets his first in Glendale, and then the next weekend he has problems. Then he comes back and he's on the podium, in Oakland. And then he'll have an off week, and he's back and forth. I'd like to see him get a little bit more consistency, and I did talk to him, and he's ready to go in Arlington. I just felt so bad that he I think he would have had another podium for sure last weekend in Minneapolis.
His crash kind of reminded me of Tomac at A1 last year. Just unexpected. You're running good. Next thing you know, you're on the ground.
Yeah. At least he's just banged up.
It happens. I saw it happen to a lot of privateers. Van Martin was one of them. Another guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name, 401 on a Kawasaki, Redmond. Sam Redmond had one, and that I'm sure you guys saw in the last chance race. So it's one of those things where the track was a little bit ruddy, and it comes up and bites you when you least expect it.
Yep,
all right,
for sure.
Jim, last question for you, and I think this is really going to help some people out. There's still so many people who just refuse to not put Eli Tomac or Ken Roczen in first because they're still holding on that they're going to win. Who would you pick to win first, Tomac or Roczen?
Well, Tomac's already got to win. I'm looking for Kenny Roczen to get a win.
Sorry, Roczen or Musquin? Roczen or Musquin? I had Tomac thinking about it. Roczen, Musquin. Who wins first between those two?
I already know who you're picking for your pick for Arlington. You got Tomac on line. Well, I think that I would have to go with Kenny's all about, he's got the red plate again. He's got a 1-point lead. Consistency. I think consistency wins championships. I want to go with Marvin Musquin this weekend. I think I'm going to put him on the top of the board just because, he's good. He's got good throttle control. I think it's going to be a little bit hard ride. But I'll tell you one thing. You talk about Tomac. If Tomac loses this championship, he lost it because of the starts. Because you cannot come from 16th, 17th position and work up and finish, out of the top, the podium. You're going to have to, his starts are going to have to turn it around here. And remember, he had some problems years before in here with a bike, in Arlington when he had that problem. So, but I think Musquin, to answer your question, I think Musquin's going to get his first win of 2019 before Kenny Roczen does.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, sounds good.
Well,
Thank
hey,
you, Jim.
We appreciate you calling in. We appreciate your feedback. Always good to hear from you guys. Now, you and Daniel definitely have some work to do because Christian and I have a little bit of a cushion, but it could take a big swing any weekend. So
He can give one heck of a bear hug.
Like they say in racing, you know, when you got a big lead like that, you can't back it down because when you back it down, it's hard to pick it back up again. So you guys keep the fire going, and don't worry about Daniel and I. We'll pick it up.
That's right. Like you picked me up at A1 with the massive bear hug. Thank you.
he still has displaced discs.
I've never had my back pop like that. Thanks.
All right, Jim. Well, hey, appreciate you. Safe travels heading to Dallas, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see ya.
Bye, Jim.
Bye.
One of my favorite dudes.
Oh, you can just talk to him forever about anything, it seems like. So, yeah, awesome.
Well, you heard it. So he thinks, what, Marv's going to win before Roxon? Don't know.
I'm glad he decided because it's hard for me to.
Well, let's do it. You know what time it is.
Time to lock him in.
Let's do it.
All right, so it's time to lock our picks in.
Dude, are you for real right now?
Don't judge.
Are you for real?
I don't know what's going on anymore.
We just talked about this.
We don't know what's real anymore and what's not. I just don't feel right without him in first. I don't know why.
You put Tomac in first place. We literally just talked about Webb for like 5 minutes about why you should put him in first.
Things change, the weather changes, things change.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But I'm leaving him there for now.
Okay.
So Tomac in first. Marv, I think the guy just takes second place like nobody's business. Coop, strong third. You know he's going to start up there.
Okay.
Roxon fourth. Baggett was looking so good last week. I think he bounces back. And then Kyle Chisholm, one of my favorite riders just personally too. So in the wild card.
All right. Well, here's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to stick with you on the wild card. I'm going to stay yellow, but I'm going to go with Alex Ray. I think team tactics here. I think one of us will get it.
Yeah.
So Alex Ray for the wild card. Blake Baggett, he won Arlington, or excuse me, Phoenix. The man was good on hard-packed, slick tracks. Similar conditions. I go Blake Baggett for the win. I go Marvin Musquin second. I go Eli Tomac third. Kenny Roxon fourth. Cooper Webb fifth. Alex Ray, my wild card. Yes, I know Webb's there, but dude, man, it's hard.
It's just a lot of
tough.
orange. It's a lot of orange.
It's a lot of orange, but there it is. Those are my picks. Locked them in.
I can't argue with you. You're destroying my score. So.
Well, you guys have seen it. Those are our picks. What are your picks this week? Who do you think is going to take the win? Are we going to see a first-time winner again? Is a red plate going to change hands? So much to see. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's get it.
But now, let's talk about why you want to be playing RMFantasy SX. Here it is. This is our prize recap. All right, so for week 7 prizes, before we talk about them, Christian, real quick, what's our discount offer this week?
The offer code is FOXCAS19, FOXCAS19. Use that to save an extra 10% on all closeout Fox Casual. You worked hard for your money, make sure you save some.
And that's good for Friday and Saturday.
It's good for Friday and Saturday, yep.
All right, well, now let's talk about the top 10 weekly prizes for this week. First place, taking home a Bell Moto 9 Carbon Flex. Nice helmet, I have one, along with Supercross 2, the video game. Second place, 2 sets of Pirelli MX32 mid to hard tires. Third place, Fox V3 helmet. Then you got MSR NXT gear, Magura hydraulic clutch and clutch bleed kit, Pro Honda, Scotia Audio, Rhino Power, Fly, a Cherubies, and of course,
90 Rocky Mountain gift cards. So
can't beat that. But that's just the weekly prizes. What about grand?
Grand prizes still up for grabs. We got the first place at the end of the year. We'll get a Race Prep KTM 450 SXF. Second place, a KTM 250 SXF. Going down to a trip to Moab with us. Monster Energy Cup trip. Dunlop, Brock Glover, Legend Ride, Fly Racing Gear and Casual Package, Milestone Video Games, Supercross, the game, console, and 4K TV, Motion Pro Tools, Tusk Impact Wheels, and 10th overall at the end of the year, we'll get an Oakley goggle and sunglasses package. So a lot up for grabs.
I like it. Now remember, too, if you're playing, if you've had a couple bad rounds, don't stress it because at the end of the year, you drop the 2 lowest scores.
Yep.
And when are we going to see a double points round? Coming up pretty soon?
In Vegas.
Ooh,
So
in
you still
Vegas,
have that
bringing
up
it
for-
down to the wire.
It's going to be a big deal.
Oh, man. Well, remember, go to RMFantasySX.com to sign up and play. It is free. All you got to do is just create an account. You can join groups if you want to. You can join Christian and I. What's our group name?
RM Fantasy SX Rivals. Get some good talk in there. It's good times, so join up.
Absolutely. So remember, do that. Get signed up. Even if you get signed up late, you can still win a weekly prize. I am Chase.
I'm Christian.
Thanks for watching.